Okay, so I am super excited to introduce Shayla today. Shayla was first my coworker, but now has become a great friend. And I really wanted to use this platform to talk about creativity and how that really helps with your personal expression and just your empowerment. And when I think about Shayla, I know that she's one of the most creative people I know. She refurbishes furniture, she makes her own jewelry, and she's a musician. And so I really just wanted her on today to talk a little bit about, how that's impacted her life across work and personal. And
Thanks
so,
for having me.
yeah, absolutely. And so, Shayla, can you kind of start us off with maybe a moment where you realize your creativity was really a powerful tool for you to express yourself?
Oh, yeah. Um, the first thing that comes to mind is actually from childhood. I think it started then, I was kind of like a loner, kept to myself a lot. But then I realized, like, wow, you can use art, like, especially visual art, because that's what I had access to. I was always drawing, doing crafts, stuff like that. But it's a amazing tool for communication, like communicating your ideas, especially me being like a little more on the intellect side versus the emotional side. I feel like as a child, I kind of struggled with expressing how I was feeling or my thoughts
Hmm.
clearly, but then I realized, through art, you're able to express ideas or make people kind of like be in your shoes for a minute with what they're viewing. The
Hmm.
piece of art makes them feel a certain way. So it's overall just an amazing way to become an effective communicator.
Yeah, that's awesome. I never would have thought about it that way, but that makes a lot of sense. So I know you shared from a young age, you were able to notice this. So tell me a little bit about how it's evolved for you over the years.
Yeah, I actually set out to become a professional artist, and I went to school for fine arts, have my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. I really wanted to be not only a professional artist, but a teacher because I realized how invaluable creativity is. I mean, even if you're not an artist, it helps you become a creative problem solver. It
Mhm.
helps you dig deep. It helps you conceptualize ideas. It's just such a powerful tool for communication, relationship building. I just it's really unique how in my life creativity kind of started as like, oh, this is, just something I'm doing, not really realizing the powerful impact it would have later on in my life. I do still, do art. I have my jewelry website up. But I also do other things that are creative outside of that, like sewing. It's very functional. It's just like like anything in your house that you could want. I'm just like, wow, I could make that. So it's also helped build a lot of confidence in my life. Like, I have a can do attitude because I somehow like got past the fear of telling myself, "Oh, I can't do this, I can't do that," and living outside of those limits has been really empowering. Like, no, actually, I can do that, but I have to say I can be super annoying like going to the store, like going out to shop or going out and about like craft shows and stuff cuz really I'm that person who's like, "Oh, I could do that. I could do that." But it's really helped give me a lot of confidence as a person, and it's built my self-esteem as well over time. And having the opportunity to encourage other people's creativity has become my main purpose. So when I first started out as a young artist going to college, I think I was more about the concepts, the ideas I was trying to communicate. I had a political message and social commentary, but that kind of has morphed into more supporting other people's creativity and showing them how you really need creativity to reach any goal you have, whether it's in art or not, whether it's in, I'm an HR professional, as you know, but a lot of people, and I'm in specifically payroll and benefits, that those are my areas. And I think traditionally, like, people view HR as, or especially those roles as, oh, you're a robot, like beep boop bop.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
do you do all day? You must just work in spreadsheets, or they're not really sure what you do. It's kind of like mystified a little bit, but
Absolutely.
I think in those roles especially, you need creativity because there's a lot of problems that come up and you have to think outside the box on. So not being limited by constructs that put
Mm-hmm.
you in a box has been extremely empowering for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely, when you were talking about going to craft fairs and stuff, be like, I could make that. I like distinctively remember. So, me and Shayla both used to live in Hawaii. And if you've ever had that experience in your life, buying furniture on the islands is very expensive. Okay. And Shayla went out and refurbished a dresser, I believe it was, right? And got it all for herself for a lot cheaper than what you can buy things for at the furniture store. And I was very jealous of just your eye to be able to look at something and capture it and know what you can create it into, because I do not have a single ounce of that in my brain.
You do. I know you do.
I don't know.
I've
I don't
seen
know.
your I've seen your creativity at work, and it is what makes you human, your creativity. It's just getting past that mindset of like, oh, I can't see this, oh, I can't do that. Once you're past that limitation you set for yourself, it's like a new world opens up.
Yeah, and you hinted on that a little bit, right? You talked about how your creativity translates into your work, right? And so it's funny because when you say it out loud, it's like, how can somebody who's a musician or an artist, how does that help them be a better HR professional? But like you said, we basically have to problem solve all day long and come up with creative solutions. And you are one of the best on our team. Well, used to be on our team about creating these just unique situations that work for everyone. And like you said, people think payroll and benefits is a robot position and you live in Excel spreadsheets, but it is so much more than that. And your ability to pause and pivot and change ideas, I feel like a lot of that comes from being an artist and being a musician and being able to be creative in those moments.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely helps. My job, it helps inform my art and it helps inform my music. And then vice versa, my art, my music, I'm always finding like ideas or like the way my mind is operating and is wired because of that. I feel like I'm able to do certain things at work that maybe somebody who is not as creative might not be able to do or tap into a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times. So it's definitely helped me propel forward in my professional career for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. I know we talked a little bit about the professional side of things, but I also want to talk about how has your creativity helped you kind of better understand yourself throughout your life?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's, I think, like I said before, when I first realized, like, oh, I definitely feel it in my heart that I'm an artist. I think I set out like on a mission, like I have something to prove, and I think that was like a probably a maturity thing. Like, oh, I have this idea or I have this view, I have this commentary to get across, and how can I, create this visual art piece that conveys this idea in a way that people receive it. But then through time, I realized even if your idea is like 100% clear, like crystal clear in your art piece, people's own experiences and their own perceptions of things, it's not never going to be 100% what you set out to convey because they have their own life experiences that affect that and how they interpret it. It's not like you can just, spoon feed somebody your idea and they're just like, oh, I fully understand it exactly how you set out for it to be understood. But that's given me like a new life philosophy. Like you can you can ask people to understand, but really how they understand it is their own understanding.
Mm,
And that's a positive thing. That's how why people are unique. That's why they're interesting. And supporting those their own ideas has kind of led me to a place where now my art's purpose is like more from an angle of I want to inspire you. I want you to be inspired when you leave viewing my art piece. Like I want you to be questioning the world and the status quo because who knows what you'll find on your own.
And I think that's huge that you're at this point now where for you it's about inspiring others and seeing others succeed in their own creativity journey, right? And so, what kind of advice would you give to someone who's exploring their creativity right now and really trying to see how that helps them dig deep and understand themselves more?
I would say if you're going to be a creative type or, you set out to be in the creative world in any form factor, you really have to do it from a place like, this is what I want to do, and not, you know, too worried about what other people are going to think, because that's a limitation, that's a box you're putting yourself in, and you really have to exist outside of that box to be fully able to tap into your full creative potential.
Yeah, really focusing on you versus what others' opinions might be.
Right.
Yeah. With that, because that kind of leads into what I was about to ask, which is funny. I feel like we're just navigating it perfectly and everything's flowing. What are some misconceptions about kind of the creativity and that landscape and that you feel like should be challenged?
Um, it's really interesting how society views artists.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember, choosing to go to school and I announced to everyone I knew, I'm going to school for art. And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, you're going to school for basket weaving." Like, what do you what are you going to do with that? And luckily I had my main and closest support system supported, what I want. They knew that was going to make me happy, and they saw the value in creativity and how much it's needed just in the world. It's needed everywhere. You look around. If we were all robots, there would be no point to our existence. So they understood that, and I think that's something that really needs to be debunked. That whole facade, like, why are all these famous artists only, valuable? Their paintings only become worth millions after they die. Why is that? But really, you need creativity for innovation in all areas, in technology, politics, everything. I think if we all embrace that as a whole, you know, things could get better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that you had a good support system around you to help, remind you why you were going to do that and stick to it. I know that not everyone has that. And I think it just talks about the importance of having this circle around you that helps uplift you and helps, focus on your goals and encourage them versus, oh, you want to be a basket weaver.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because I feel like not everyone has that. And if people aren't confident in that, that could be a turning point for them where they say, you know what, I'm actually not going to do this anymore. And like you shared, if we were all here to be robots, that would be really boring and there'd be no point into us being here. And so, like you shared, creativity is so much more. It's what makes you you every day and makes you different. And so I'm so glad that you had encouraging people in your corner that pushed you to continue to do what you cared about.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely see the value even in like having a life coach too.
Mhm.
I could see how that could propel somebody. It could inspire them. Yeah, and a lot of people don't have that support system for sure. I
Yeah.
was
I've
fortunate.
yeah. I've been talking recently with several different people about just like people who just do something to get by right now, right? As far as like work wise, and they don't really enjoy it. Um, and so, just like talking about this, like I know how passionate you are about this and what you do with it. And so, to me, again, it's another one of those things where I just wish people felt more compelled to do what they really care about and love to do every day and make money in that aspect. And that's how they make their living versus I'm going to go to my 9 to 5. I hate it. I'd rather be doing something else. Um, just because it's so much more fulfilling.
Yeah, you know, I'm right there with you. I totally understand. Sometimes you're in a situation where you have to do the 9 to 5
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
but you can always find ways to squeeze in the things you like. Like
Hmm.
I'm constantly searching for ways to be a creative problem solver in my 9 to 5, and that's fulfilling to me. I get to exercise my creative muscles, and then, even after work, I set aside time, I protect my work life boundary, and I just make sure that I do something creative that I enjoy because it's super important.
Yeah, I think that's huge, being able to balance your work and your life and making sure you're filling your bucket with things that you're excited about and are fun for you. And so like I know for you that's part of like the jewelry stuff, right? And you're able to create that stuff after work. But people get so stuck in their everyday routines and not having that balance that I feel like that's where things kind of get off track and then it leads to this mundane life. So I feel like you have to be very intentional, which you have been, about setting apart that time for your creativity.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely a lot of work. It's a discipline, you
Mhm.
know, to not let the 9 to 5 take over your life.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you have the dedicated support system, somebody holding you accountable and you're holding yourself accountable, it's a lot easier to manage.
Mhm. I'm proud of you because there was a time when Shayla did not have a good work-life balance, and we were all yelling at her to get off of work and go fill up her bucket. And I just have seen I have seen a shift for you and how that has really impacted your overall life. So, how were you able to really be intentional about saying, this is the time I'm going to be creative and this is the time I'm going to dedicate to work? Because I'm sure there's other people out there struggling with that.
Okay, this might seem a little nuts for some people, but some people might, this might help them a lot. But I set up a calendar and I have printouts, but I like to do everything, from the cloud so I can access it anywhere. And I just block out time and set alarms for when I'm supposed to be doing what. That's how I operate at work too. That's how I operate outside of life. It takes the, oh, I have to remember to do this. Oh, I have to remember. It automates my life for me.
Mm-hmm.
So that helps make it, a little easier. Like for the month ahead, I plan out, oh, okay, I'm going to be making 4 different designs this month, and I break it down into smaller goals.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to make, 30 posts this month, and I again break it down in smaller pieces, manageable pieces, and that's kind of how I look at each month at the start of the month. Lay out what you're going to do when you're going to do it. And I definitely am more likely to do things that I write down and I have visuals of, so I keep those around me.
Yeah, that's something I was talking about yesterday with my mother-in-law. We recorded an episode on just being an entrepreneur and how do you stay focused. And she said kind of the same thing. You need a map. You don't go anywhere in life without a map, right? And so sounds very similar to what you just shared. Having a plan prior instead of allowing life to kind of push you in these different directions. And then at the end of the day, you're like, well, I didn't have time for that today.
Yeah, and if you have that person in your life who, because not everyone's good at planning, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I, my fiance might be a little mad at this, but he's one of those people, but we rely on each other's strengths. Like one thing that I have a hard time doing is relaxing and having fun and being in the moment. That sounds so lame, but I'm just like dat 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 dat. I gotta do this and then I gotta do that. But he helps me enjoy the moment. And that's his strength. But then my strength for him is helping him plan things and breaking it down into smaller goals, achievable goals,
Mm-hmm.
realistic goals.
We are the same in that sense. We've talked about this a lot, but I feel the same way. It is very hard for me to stop and smell the roses. I'm like, but, what's next? And my husband is very much like, could we please stop and smell the roses? But I think that that's important too, just to talk about like the balance in life, right? And that I think a lot of people feel like you should surround yourself with people that are just like you. But that's not always the case, right? Having that balance and, being like you shared, you're able to lean on him in those areas and he's able to lean on you in the areas you really shine in.
Yeah, it's what makes the world go round, people's differences, makes everything interesting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The last kind of big ticket question that I had for you is um, how does the process of like creating something from scratch, or when you go in and you see something and you're like, I could make that, how does that contribute to your growth as a person?
Um, Ultimately, I think when I have an idea, like like the craft fair example, I
Hmm.
see a lot of ideas aren't new. It's more like you're weaving together existing ideas to create something new.
Hmm.
So, kind of having that perspective, like it not only removes the pressure, like knowing, like, there's rarely a new idea. It's just how you configure the existing ideas, how you juxtapose the existing materials that you're working with. Um, it helps you view just everyday situations in a different perspective. And going back to the craft fair situation, when I'm like passing somebody and I see their idea and I'm thinking, oh, I can do that. I'm not, I'm just saying, like, wow, that's a great idea that I can also do. And then I go home and I do my own version of it. It's not going to be exactly what that artist's work was. It
Hmm.
never will be. But um, for me, it's like, oh, I proved to myself that I can do something.
Yeah.
And that's given me a lot of confidence in life.
Yeah, no, I can hear it while you're talking, just how confident and how much you care about this and how much it just brings joy for you to be able to do these things and work with your hands. And I think for you too, it's such a huge win to be able to like have a vision in here and be able to bring it outside of your body and be able to create it. And it's so awesome to watch as your friend to see that come to life for you and to see how proud you are of it.
Aw, thank you, Anna.
You're welcome. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Shayla, for coming on and talking with me today. I am going to have in the comment section Shayla's websites for you guys to go and take a look at if you'd like. But again, thank you so much, Shayla, for coming on and talking about just creativity and how it's shaped you into who you are today.
Thanks so much, Anna. Appreciate you.